Today on Locked On Red Wings, just like old times, Detroit falls one spot in the lottery to 13th overall in the 2025 NHL Draft.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's host over at Locked On Tigers and a sports writer for CNG Newspapers, while I am a color commentator for Oakland University ACHA D1 Men's Hockey. Scotty, the Detroit Red Wings fall from 12th to 13th in the draft lottery. It had been a few years. It had been a few years, but it felt all too familiar when it was Utah that leapt forward and forcing Detroit back a spot. I want to know kind of both your instant reaction, one, to the Red Wings falling to 13th. Like, how do you feel about that? But also, just because it's such a unprecedented thing, especially in this new system they started a couple years ago, your reaction to both Utah and the Islanders leaping up 10 spots to take first and fourth.
Yeah, I'll be real with you. I couldn't have cared less about the Wings falling a spot. 12 and 13 means very little to me. I'll never tell anybody how to be a fan. Like if that fires you up because like they still fell technically, more power to you. I just, again, the difference between 12 and 13, I just could not care less. The whole system and the TV production and being able to actually see the ping pong balls get drawn and trying to keep track of like what you're supposed to be rooting for and what you want to see and what number could lead to what and etc. was kind of, I don't know, like kind of cool to be honest, but it was certainly complicated at times. I think my immediate reaction when the Islanders got one was you. Like, that's your favorite team. You love the Islanders. And now your favorite franchise has the number one overall pick, dude.
I feel like changes are coming for the Islanders. I don't think that's going to be the case much longer. The timing of this is crazy too. With and this is where even though it was live, we saw it happen. People are still going to be claiming rigged because they took the All-Star game away from the Islanders because they realized the All-Star game is stupid. And then they fire Lou Lamoriello, which is going to be part of the reason why it's going to be changing probably soon, hopefully. And then they get the first overall pick. Hot take, I am not upset that the Islanders got first overall pick because my big thing was, I would have been fine if the Sharks got it again because the Sharks are just legitimately bad. But under no circumstances did I want the Blackhawks to get it again.
Right.
The Bruins, the Penguins, the Rangers.
Under no circumstance should any original six outside of the Red Wings have the number one overall pick.
You're joking, but yes.
You literally just listed off every non-playoff team original six.
Not Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's not original six. But this is what happened last time.
I mean the teams that you did name, like you literally just listed every non-Red Wing or playoff team original six there.
But then going into that 3-minute commercial break, which was just like, what timing? Like, that they were like, well, they're not going to turn the TV off going into the final ball, so let's put a 3-minute commercial break right here. But going into that commercial break. Going into that commercial break, Pittsburgh had really good odds, and I was like, oh my God, they're doing it again. Just like at the end of Mario Lemieux's a tenure with the Penguins, they got Sidney Crosby, and that was claimed to be rigged, and now they're going to get another number one overall pick right as Crosby's tenure's ending. And so I was like, this cannot be happening, not again. Or same thing with the Blackhawks or the Rangers in 2020, where they made the playoffs because it was an expanded year, and then they got the number one overall pick.
That was just so...
Or oh my God, the Bruins missed the playoffs for the first time in 2 decades. Let's give them, it really felt like it was setting up to give one of those teams the number one overall pick. And then went to the Islanders. And I was like, okay, I can live with that. I'm all right with that. And I'm with you too. Like, honestly, dropping from 12 to 13, like the only point of frustration, it's like, oh my God, we fell again. But you're right. Like the caliber of player you're getting between 12 and 13 does not make that big of a difference. So I'm not too upset about dropping that one spot. I think the only point of that kind of annoys me is that like the Red Wings have never jumped in the draft. They fell in every draft between 2017 and 2020. They stayed pat between 2021 and 2024. Now they've fallen again. They've never jumped. And in this year, they finished 12th. The 10th place team, which you finished 4 points better than, jumped to number 1. And then the 14th place team, which you finished 3 points worse than, jumped to 4th. So it's just like, it's like teasing you that two teams on either side of you by just a couple points are the one that jumped.
Part, believe me.
I mean, you can't control that. It's what it is,
right.
but
I certainly get that part. It's just, in a vacuum, like getting 13 when you're supposed to get 12, whatever.
Yeah, that part does not bother me. I'm like 13, 12, whatever. It's just kind of like, oh my God.
I'm kind of pumped for Utah though. And like, that seems a little,
they're rigging it again.
Right. Like a little,
the first draft is Utah and they jump. What is this?
Convenient, if you will, for the NHL to have the Utah Hockey Club jump so much, but I don't hate that one. I'm kind of pumped for the Utah team, and well, obviously we've already had it, but I'm pumped for the branding of the Utah team rather, and if they're planning on revealing the new mascot, we totally don't know.
Oh yeah, it's totally not the Mammoth,
right? That we definitely have no clue what it is. I'd imagine they'll do that right before the draft so that they can have like a lot of hype going into it, and then give whoever they pick, like, you're the first draft pick in not in franchise history, but in
Mammoth or not Mammoth.
Right, like who knows really?
Nondescript,
history, right? In new mascot history. So, but they can do like the whole charade with like, oh, like here's the new jersey
charade.
And you know what I mean? Like they can really kind of have the pageantry of all.
Did you say charade instead of charade?
Ben Sherrod?
Ben Charade? Yeah. And I agree. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, they'd be dumb not to like officially announce their name before the draft. That way on draft night, especially with the 4th overall pick, that it's not the Utah, not Mammoth.
That's actually going to be their name. They're the Utah, not Mammoth.
They're going to be the hairy elephants. That's what they're going to call themselves.
The Utah, definitely not woolly mammoth.
Yeah, it's the one big takeaway I had from this was two big takeaways I had from this is one, I did not understand at all how the lottery worked. Now I do, because they were pulling numbers and I was like, what is happening? Now I understand, like, there's assigned number combinations to each team, and that's how they determine who wins. Because I was like, I saw 12 get pulled. I'm like, wait, that's the Red Wings number. They're 12. But they're already eliminated. How does this work? It's like, oh, no, there's a number combination. I was an idiot. I understand it now. It was a learning experience. I'm better for it. The second takeaway I had was that no matter how the NHL does it, if it's done beforehand and they just reveal it via cards, or if they do it live so you can see it's not rigged, if somebody jumps, they're going to claim it's rigged. It's so funny on social media, all the people claiming that this was rigged. I'm like, is it great narrative? Sure.
I
is
see
it fun
the vision,
narrative?
dude.
But
I'm kind of with it. I'm kind of fine.
But you could have said that with any team that jumped.
Yeah,
any team that
that's
jumped.
the point. That's what makes it awesome. Yeah, you just say that about any team, but your team gets number one. It's rigged, dude. That's the deal we all have as fans.
Wait, and what happens if the Red Wings win and get to number 2?
Bettman whenever he's on the stage.
What's the narrative if the Red Wings win it? It's the Red Wings missed the playoffs, and you can't have an original 16 miss the playoffs this many times, so you got to give them the jump, especially because they had never gotten it before. Like it was their turn.
Well, no, if the Red Wings
there's a narrative
win,
for all of it.
Then it's legit and it's genuine.
Well, yes, it's legit and genuine, unless you're not a Red Wings fan, and then it's rigged.
They're all wrong then. Yeah, that's just whining.
I don't know. I actually got a lot of enjoyment out of this draft lottery. And I think it was because, like, one, it didn't really impact us as Red Wings fans.
Yeah.
And two, there was 2 huge swings in the lottery for teams that I don't hate. So I was like, okay, I can actually enjoy this as a neutral fan here. I mean, I hate the Islanders, don't get me wrong. Like, we've talked about it. But, like,
Oh, buddy, we know.
it's a different kind of
Well
hate than, like,
documented.
Bruins and Penguins. And it's, like, more of a this team's so boring. But hopefully that's changing because Lou's gone. Anyway, Scotty, we got to do a quick break. When we return, we'll talk about what we feel the Red Wings' biggest need, positionally, they need to address with that 13th overall pick. Stay tuned to segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings.
An award-winning mattress can change your life. I speak from experience. It happened to me. After years of uncomfortable sleeps, I recently switched to Bear Mattress, and the results were instant. Bear Mattress is designed with a focus on recovery, cooling, and pressure relief to upgrade your sleep and improve your overall quality of life. I used to deal with night sweats, but Bear's best-in-class cooling ensures optimal temperature regulation, which prevents overheating and helps me stay comfortable all night long. Bear offers a wide variety of mattresses, but to get the right one for you, take their sleep quiz that matches you to your perfect mattress based on body type and sleep preferences. Go to bearmattress.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL at checkout to get 40% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. You have to use my promo code on the very last page of checkout to get this discount. That's bearmattress.com. Use my promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get 40% off site-wide. Bearmattress.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL.
Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings podcast.
Nope.
Oh, segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings podcast. Sorry, I was just so excited to not have to talk to you anymore. I just skipped ahead 10 minutes.
What time did you call me last night? Was that 11 p.m.?
No, that was that last night or was that Saturday night? No, it was last night. I will let it be known that I actually do love Scotty, and I like talking to him.
You feel the need to have to clarify that? Like, we treat each other so poorly. I just want it to be clear.
Well, we do treat each other poorly on the podcast, and sometimes people do take that as genuine dislike for one another, and I just want to make it clear.
That's always funny to me.
I have a heart full of affection for Scotty Bentley.
A heart full of affection?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. You have a way with words, man.
Thanks. I could be a writer, too. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. All right, Scotty, I went through the effort earlier today of writing down all the Red Wings' best prospects at each position, and then I forgot to take it home with me.
Awesome.
So I'm going to be doing it on the fly while we talk here today. But, Scotty, when you're looking at the Red Wings depth chart here, where do you feel is the biggest hole prospect-wise for the Detroit Red Wings that you would feel if, again, because you take best player available, right? If you had the ability to choose that position, that best player available was just for that position that you need, what do you feel is the one that's the biggest hole right now?
Yeah, I think that last part is an important, caveat there. It's like I am a massive advocate for best player available, man. Like I you don't want your system to get too lopsided, I guess, in any direction, but unless it is absolutely egregious, I'm going to always default to just you take the best player available. So much can happen with development and with just injuries and players' careers and everything. So much is a toss up, especially once you start getting into the late first round, that, there are very few circumstances where I am not just going to default to take the best player available. If we were to pick a biggest area of need, organizationally, the thing is, I don't think I'd really be mad with anything. I understand that there's a lot of prospects in the farm that are on the blue line. I certainly would not hate another reasonably high-end defenseman, though. Even though, again, there's been a lot of names that have been drafted over the years that are on the blue line. I look at the NHL defensive room, and I'm just like, all of these guys are short-term kind of options, except for obviously Seider, Edvinsson, and then like maybe Aljo. And there's just so much that still has to be addressed there long term. There's no guarantee that anybody in the system, steps up and fills that like bona fide top 4 role. Wings, I have a really hard time saying like an organization needs a winger. Like you can kind of find those whenever you need and draft those whenever you need. So I'm not really sure. I for like 10 years now, I've just defaulted to like, oh yeah, they need help up the middle. And like, I'm not sure that's really changed. Like it's gotten better. It's certainly better than it was, 3, 4, 5 years ago when the organization had like one center total in it. But like, I don't know. Like if you're asking me on draft night, what would be the position that if they took it, it would fill like the biggest need organizationally? I still feel like it's really hard for me to kind of steer away from a center, but also again, you're talking about the 13th pick. I'm not sure if value wise that makes sense. So I've really rambled here, but like I don't know. I don't want to like ride a fence and just be like, I don't know, you could use help kind of everywhere, but I guess if I had to pick, I would go blue line. I would just be okay with another first round caliber defenseman, but you could really convince me of anything.
Well, you're right. Though you could use help at every position. Like when I was writing out that list earlier, I really came to the conclusion, I'm like, this team could use a 13th, a top 15 pick at any position right now.
Right, yeah.
And there are some positions where I feel like there's more NHL floor talent, but that left wing, for example, right? That there I feel like there's actually a lot of talent that has an NHL floor, but when I'm looking at it, I don't see anyone with a top 6 ceiling of those players, like bona fide top 6 ceiling. Like I don't count. In my opinion, Elmer Soderblom has graduated. Carter Mazur, in my opinion, I know he only played 1 game, but he was a graduate. He was going to graduate. So like I'm talking about guys who are maybe a couple years away. Who's left that has top 6 ceiling? I don't think
decent draft for that too.
Right. You have Emmett Finney, Jacob Brichlovsky, Cross Hannes, Max Plant, Dmitry Buchnikov is probably the only one I think has top 6 potential out of those guys. You got Dylan
And
James
even that's a long way away. Like that,
right?
Ceilings lower as players get further and higher up in the organization because you see how they play against better and better competition. Like he has that ceiling right now, and we we love what we've seen so far. I'm not saying that he like secretly sucks. I'm just saying that you know what I mean? Like as players get higher and higher in the organization, that's when you get a better and better perspective or like viewpoint on what they'll become.
Look, and they have that's the thing is left wing is probably the position they have the most depth, but I also feel like they're lacking that top end talent the most at that position too. Defense, I'm right there with you too, because especially on the right side, again, you have Axel Sandin-Pellikka, who top 4 defenseman. You hope he can be your second pair right side D-man. You have William Wallander, who can play both sides. But then outside of that, and Wallander, by the way, is a left shot defenseman. Outside of that, it's all lefties. It's Tuomisto, it's Anton Johansson, it's Brady Cleveland. None of those guys really wow me outside of ASP. So you could, and Anton Johansson has had a great season. I think he's probably my second most player I'm most excited for outside of ASP. There we go. That's how you say that. And so I would be okay with taking another defenseman right there, especially if you can get a right shot defenseman in particular, because we really need defensive depth. And you also another top 4 defensive prospect. You have Edvinsson, you have Seider, and you might have ASP. Jury's still out on how high in the lineup he'll play. He'll at least be a power play specialist for you. Can he take on top 4 responsibility, though? Still, the jury's still out on that.
Right.
So you can take another guy there. I agree with you on center, right? Like center's another spot where you can never have too many centers in your organization. And Casper got the promotion this year, so I don't qualify him anymore. But you still have Danielson and Amadeus Lombardi, who have had decent to good seasons in Grand Rapids. But outside that, it falls off pretty quick. So those 3 spots really scream to me. Is right side D, left wing, and center. Right wing, you have Michael Brandsegg-Nygard, and you have a ton of guys already at the NHL level that's not necessarily necessitate guys right now to draft.
Word.
So
yeah, like I agree. I mean, it's just there is nothing in the organization right now that you look at and you go, yeah, okay, like we don't really need one of those. Like,
right.
you can pretty much convince me of anything, man.
Well, and you look outside, you look at the right side of D, right? You outside of Michael brandsegg-nygard and Jesse Kiskinen, maybe Alexander Dossett, you don't really have much else there either. The only reason you probably don't draft a right wing is because you already have Lucas Raymond and Patrick Kane, probably only here for a couple more years, but you have a ton of guys already at the NHL level.
Yeah.
So, how much more do you need in that category when you have MBN and maybe Kiskinen and Dossett on the way? So, but you can make an argument for any position, like you said. Let's take another break. When we return, we'll talk about a couple players that we have caught our eyes over the last couple of days of research, as well as talk about Moritz Seider. I'm sorry, Captain Moritz Seider. Stay tuned for segment 3 of Lockdown Red Wings. Was what on purpose?
You going Moritz, Captain Moritz Seider. I feel like that you thought of that at like 2 p.m. today, and you were like, "That's how I'm going to transition into segment 3."
No, that wasn't. That was literally just off the cuff. I'd own it if it was. You know me.
I believe so. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Get Brian out of here. Yep, got to talk to y'all about our friends over at Wonderful Pistachios. Obviously, we've had a lot of conversations about the great product that is Wonderful Pistachios because they are a snack that is both nutritious and delicious. You can crack into that good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. They're one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. I love the no shells, as I've told y'all for weeks and weeks and maybe even months now. It's the perfect grab and go snack for me, whether I'm at my desk, on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost. They are always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, well, the in-shell options are a classic favorite as well. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
And welcome back now. I can come back?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, okay, cool. Segment 3 for real this time. Lockdown Red Wings podcast. All right, Scotty. There's quite a few names in this draft. It's not a really top-heavy draft. There's like 3 guys who are probably going to go 1, 2, and 3, but there's no Celebrini, there's no Bedard in this draft, and there's a lot of guys who are kind of in the same category around 10 and 13, but I want to start with 2 guys that were, one guy that was in the Red Wings range and probably played himself out of the Red Wings range in a good way. He played really well down the stretch, and then a guy who probably should never have been in the Red Wings range, but due to injuries, it might be worth taking a swing on at this point in your rebuild. The first guy I want to talk about here is Radim Murtka, and I sent you his EP profile earlier today, and I was like, bro, is this not the most Detroit Red Wings Steve Yzerman draft pick? This guy is 6'6", right shot defenseman who has an edge to his game. This guy screams Steve Yzerman. He's Czech, but right now he plays for the Seattle Thunderbirds of the WHL. He's a great two-way defenseman. He had 35 points in 43 games played with the Thunderbirds as well, which is a thin Thunderbirds team, by the way, this season. He just, in every way, shape, and form, I look at this guy and go, this is a Steve Yzerman draft pick. Problem lies, he was too good in the second half of the season, and he was originally projected to go 15 to 20 range, and now some people have him as high as the top 10. This is a guy I'm praying drops, and it's a thin defensive class too. Outside of Schaefer, who's projected to go number 1 overall, there's not a lot of defensemen going very high. So I'm just praying Radim Murtka, I'm hoping I pronounced that correctly, it will fall, because I would love to have him in the organization, especially on the right side.
Yeah, no, I mean, we'll do plenty of, our draft profiles and whatnot. I think the wildest thing when looking over this draft class is like these are 2006 kids. Like, that's just so wild to me, dude. That's unbelievable to me. But yeah, man, no, any help on the blue line, I think is very welcomed. And yeah, he's a guy that, I mean, when we start doing our draft profiles, we'll ask whoever we have on to talk about him, you know, if he has played himself out of being in the Red Wings range, because I think, you know, to your point, there's a real possibility there. The other one that I responded to your text earlier and said that it also kind of screams Red Wings pick is Lyndon Lakovich, who's a 6'4", 6'5" wing in the WHL right now. Like, that's just another one, right? Like, yeah, 6'4", 190 left wing. Just another guy that's just a really big body. Has been, you know, praised for being solid defensively, and just, I don't know, like, that just seems to be the Yzerman profile, is try to get people with physical attributes and then make them good two-way players. So I don't know. That's, again, just like knee jerk initially. We're picking 13. Who immediately jumps off the board? We'll do, I'm sure, weeks and weeks of player profiles going forward. But
Yeah, and he's projected to go right in the Red Wings range, and that's, again, we just talking about it. He's in that position group that I highlighted as you have a lot of NHL floor guys there, but you don't really have a lot of top six. Again, Carter Mazur, I think, is going to be at best the middle six winger, probably bottom six. I don't count Elmer Soderblom anymore, and even him probably middle six at best. Someone like Lakovich could finally fill that hole that they need on Larkin and Raymond's wing, of course, a couple years from now. But still, that's a position of need right now. Now, the guy I was hinting at earlier, a guy that was projected to go top 5, but could possibly fall, is Roger McQueen, who plays for the Brandon Wheat Kings, who Nate Danielson played for as well. He's somebody who has all the talent in the world to be a top 5 pick in the NHL draft, but unfortunately, due to back injuries, is likely not to be there. And this is why I love this if he falls, and I don't think he will fall that far. I love it because it's aggressive. It's you're a team that needs to swing for the fences and make a bold move now. And Brandon McQueen, or Roger McQueen, I keep saying Brandon McQueen, he plays for the Brandon Wheat Kings. Roger McQueen, rather, is that guy who could really add a lot of talent. He's 6'5" center who moves well for his size. I really think that this is a guy who, if his back is not a long-term problem, could be a difference maker on this team. It's just that back is a big question mark. But when you're a team like Detroit, who's in the middle of kind of, will they fall off? Will they make it to the playoffs? Taking a big swing on a guy like this at 13, if he's there, and I'm not sold he'll still be there at 13 even with the injury problems, could be something that's worth doing at this point.
Yeah, we've actually had that conversation over the last few drafts. Is like, you know, this is a guy that a really high ceiling could fall. Yeah, there's been a couple of those over the years. So just
6'5" right shot center.
Yeah, golly.
With a lot of skill.
Golly, that'll play.
That would be incredible. So it's just, are you willing to take a gamble on his back holding out? I think at this point in the rebuild, I am.
Fair enough. I'm gonna trust the team doctors on that one.
Not me.
I think I'm gonna default to the team doctors with that. But yeah, I think your point is valid though. I understand where you're coming from for sure.
Well, and so that brings me to this next question for you, Scotty. And this is not another thing that I'm very willing to do. I'm willing to trade the pick altogether. Same reasons why I'm willing to take a swing on Roger McQueen is the reason why I'm willing to trade the pick too. Like at this point in your rebuild, like, can you really afford to wait another 3 or 4 years for a guy to develop and make it to the NHL when you're trying to make the playoffs now? If you can deal this pick to bring in a player now who can affect and positively affect this team now, I think I would be willing to do that in a heartbeat. Yeah,
I see the vision there for sure. I just I wonder what it would have to be packaged with something else. You're not going to get like a game-breaking talent with the 13th overall pick.
Well, yeah, but as a base, I'm willing to move it.
Yeah, sure.
We can throw in Hull for free, and there you go.
Wow. Yep. Surely that'll get us something.
Scotty, the last thing on our docket to talk about today is Moritz Seider becoming team captain for Germany, which is for the World Championships. I think are going to start on Friday, the 9th. Is that Friday? Whatever.
I think so.
I think you have a calendar next to you. There you go. So not much there to say other than congratulations to Moritz Seider, and it helps validate our feelings about how cool and good this player is. So very happy for Moritz Seider. It's a well-deserved honor. Their usual captain, I believe, is out with injury, so they needed a new captain, and Moritz Seider, just for Team Germany, seems like a no-brainer. It would either be him or Stützle, and I'm not even sure if Stützle is participating this year.
Yeah, the cool thing is this is a thing that could end up being like the rest of his career, right? Like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very real possibility that, he wears the C here and then just becomes like a German hockey legend. And like the next generation, over there just grows up knowing Seider as the captain of Germany, and he spends his whole career in that role. Like that is, somewhat on the table there, which I think is super cool and exciting.
And I mean, it just makes sense, too, when you look at the role he played in Detroit. He was
one
of the three best players on this team, and their best defenseman by a large margin.
Yeah, well, and you look at Germany, he's, pretty comfortably one of the best players there already, too. So
right. If probably is the best player there already. So, because Stützle had a little bit of a down year. And again, I don't even know if he's going to show up for that. So, anyways, Scotty, final thoughts?
We ball.
We do ball. We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow, recapping the loss to the Texas Stars that Grand Rapids Griffins had. A couple of good storylines in that game, though, or I shouldn't say good, interesting storylines to be had, conversations to be had in that game, with Kosa being benched and MBN having a multi-point night as well as his first AHL goal. Woo. So we'll talk about that as well as everything else that did not happen in that game. So stay tuned. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.